Ladies and gentlemen, Dreamhack Dallas is currently going on this weekend. And if you're in the fighting game community at all, you may have heard about a certain situation that took place. And it has caused quite the shitstorm in the fighting game community. And so I decided to do a short little talk about what happened, about how it was handled, and why things kind of snowballed out of control in the way that they did. So just to give some context, this weekend, Dreamhack Dallas has a very, very big Tekken tournament, close to 500 entrants. Some of the best players from around the world have flown in for this tournament because it is a qualifier for the Esports World Cup, which is a $60 million overall prize pool tournament happening in Saudi Arabia in August for fighting games in particular. It actually starts in July for other games. But while this was going on, we had a match between JDCR and AK. JDCR being a former EVO champion, AK being the combo breaker champion, literally last week for Tekken 8. And this match was to qualify. This match was to qualify into top 8, I believe. Actually, it might have been one match before. So I think it was one away from top 8. So a very important match, right? If you lose at this point, then you actually have to win a few more matches than you would have had to qualify, this and that. $60 million. I don't need to tell you why this is an important match. And while it happens, this goes on. This is there are 2 rounds to 2 here. On the last game, it's tied up 1-1, as you can see, and then this transpires.
Didn't even start the heat yet. That's gonna catch him out of the air.
You're in the air.
Not dead, but this situation is not looking good for AK. Heat dash.
Andrew's wall. Oh no! Oh no!
It says player 2. I'm not sure who that was. Didn't even.
So, what happens is while JDCR is in the process of, many would say he's in the process of closing out this. Obviously, he had a big life lead. He had a knockdown. AK was still alive though, so it's not like he was dead or anything like that. But big lead here for JDCR. He has a knockdown. He has big life lead. This is essentially a guess for the game situation that AK is put into. And an external, we now know that an external person. So this was not the controller of JDCR. This is not the controller of AK. It was someone that had played on the stream setup prior. They press the home button trying to maybe connect to another console in the room, and it brings up this menu automatically whenever you do that on a PlayStation console, which halts the match. And so there's a lot of misconceptions about how this transpired. This actually took a good amount of time of like the stage managers and the TOs and whatnot going and talking to the players, because obviously there's probably some amount of language barrier as well. JDCR from Korea and AK from the Philippines, probably harder to explain exactly what's going on to them in that regard. So it took a good amount of time. And after all was said and done, what ended up happening was they were made to replay the last round. So they reset the game state to both players have 2 rounds each. They're on the final round of game 3. And so 1 round away for both for winning the match. And AK would go on to win after the rematch, which obviously had a lot of people feeling some type of way because JDCR was the one in the lead before it was reset. But there's a few very, very important things that people are not really considering. And honestly, this situation has gotten so out of control that the main event organizer for this tournament, Jabali, who you might know from running CEO, he's also the head TO for CEO, has gotten death threats. He had to private his Twitter overnight. It's getting very, very ugly. A lot of people are talking about this, and they're going to talk about this for a while because of the stakes and because, it always sucks whenever situations like this happen. So why was the ruling to replay the round? A lot of people I've seen, a lot of people who especially aren't maybe as familiar with the way that fighting game tournaments are run, they ask the question, why didn't AK just forfeit? Right, I've seen that before. Why didn't AK just forfeit? He was about to lose. He might as well just give him the game. That's just unreasonable to ask for a competitor, especially with stakes of this kind. Sportsmanship is great and all, but sportsmanship does not pay the bills, especially in esports in esport like fighting games where opportunities and money are very hard to come by, right? You do not pass up that opportunity. If your heart is in this as a competitor and you want to make this your full-time job, there's no way you forfeit in this situation. Yes, it would have been a class act from AK, but to expect him to do that is unbelievable, especially given that some of the most hype moments of fighting game history were because people make crazy ass comebacks like this. This was still a winnable game for him. And I think it's important for people to realize that this game was still winnable for AK. No matter how small the percentage is, it was still winnable, right? Still winnable. We've seen this before. So asking him to forfeit, unreasonable. Just throw that completely out of the window. Another common one is, why didn't they reset the game state? Why didn't they give him back the life lead, right? Why didn't they recreate, you know, JDCR having this much health and AK having this much health? Why didn't they reset back to this point? Well, there's two reasons. One reason is it's very, very hard to replicate game states. It's actually much harder than you think it is, because we don't have exact health values or anything like that, right? And so like you're asking people to like guesstimate on how much health one had, how much health the other had, the resource count, did they have heat? Are you gonna put them back in the knockdown situation? Are you gonna force them to guess on wake up? No matter how you do it, it's not gonna be exact, right? You're not gonna replicate the same exact situation. The health values won't be exactly the same. The knockdown advantage won't be exactly the same. The pressure of both players will not be the same. You just cannot one-to-one recreate. You just can't. You just can't do that. And so you can't ask them to do that either. And it might seem like it's easy from the outside looking in, but it's actually much more complicated than you might think. And outside of that, we actually have rules for this. Alrighty, if you go and you look right here, this is the Tekken World Tour official rules. You will find that they have this clause right here. Let me go ahead and zoom in so you guys can see a little bit better. They actually have something written in already for match disruptions, right? If a player intentionally or accidentally causes a pause in a match, whether by pressing the options button or experiencing controller disconnection, the player that caused the pause will forfeit the round in the set. That's not this situation, because it was neither AK nor JDCR that caused the pause. If a match disruption occurs that is out of control of the players of the match, such as an action of a player's undesynced controller or a game software crash or console hardware failure, making players unable to continue a set, the tournament organizer staff member shall order the players to restart the set, but with the same round count from the point that the match disruption occurred. Players are responsible for starting a new set and holding forward for the necessary number of rounds to quickly return to the round count that was achieved before match disruption. This is the ruling. This is the Tekken World Tour ruling, straight up. The Tekken World Tour rules say that if it happens and it is the fault of neither player that are involved in the match, you must reset back to the same amount of rounds, same amount of games in the set. You must replay the round, is what they're saying here. And so Jabali made the right call by following the rules. It's a Tekken World Tour event. It's very important, right? You just can't go beyond this, right? You just can't, you can't get past this, right? This is the ruling, and this is what it says must be done in these cases. And also on top of that, it is the most fair, right? It is the most fair in this situation. It doesn't feel fair, right? The only reason that people feel some type of way about this is because it's a mixture of a bunch of different crazy ass circumstances into one, right? Someone had a big lead, it occurred on stream, right? And it was due to a controller pause. Imagine if even just one of those variables is different, right? Imagine this happens off stream. Then it becomes a he said, she said about how much health did they have? This or that, right? I was in the lead. No, I was in the lead. This is that, right? Could be like that. It's like hard to rule in that situation because one could just be lying. But it's how do you rule that, right? Because it wasn't in front of everyone to see. That's why these rules are like overarching, right? That's why they cover all possible scenarios. That's like the reason for this. And it sucks. I don't want to I don't want to make anyone feel like this doesn't fucking suck. It absolutely does, right? But the staff at Dreamhack Dallas absolutely followed the correct ruling. They have to. And the reason that you make rules like this is because the whole point of rulings, right, is to remove ambiguity from the players. You don't want players taking the heat for making this decision or not agreeing to this or that, right? It's just like whenever a lot of rules in fighting game tournaments nowadays make it so if a disconnect happens or something, they automatically make the other person take the round. Why is that? Because they don't want the decision to be on the players, and it shouldn't be on the players, right? You as a TO, your job is to remove that ambiguity from the situation. Don't make them the bad guys. You take that vitriol upon yourself, and Jabali is doing that. Now, people making death threats and all that stuff is completely out of line. They should not be doing that. But this situation, right? It is neither the fault of JDCR or AK in this case. He's the one that makes the ruling. He did it within the rules that are pre-written. It's not like they made up these rules on the fly, and that's what you have to do. That's just what good TOing is. And this is why not everyone can be a TO, because not many people can make this decision under pressure. That's just how it is, right? You have to go with what's written. You can't change the rules at the last minute. It sucks. It fucking sucks. I wish this didn't happen, but I do believe that the Dreamhack team made the best decision given the circumstances. Now, were there multiple points of failure for this? Absolutely. Should the players have checked the console for synced controllers? Sure, right? The TO should have also checked the console. It's a stream, it's a stage setup, right? You can turn off Bluetooth on the PS5, right? You can do that. Should that have been done? Absolutely. Absolutely. There are multiple points of failure that lead to this situation happening, which sucks. But because of that, right, we can only go with what we have, right? We can't rewind time and stop it from happening. And so we just have to make rulings based on what we have. Unfortunately, that's all we can do, right? And it fucking sucks. Fucking sucks. Also, why is this even such a big deal? This actually happens way more than people think it does. Like disconnects and people syncing controllers during matches. Like this happens all the time, especially at majors. Like when there's so many people playing so many matches, accidents happen, right? These things do happen. You might not see most of them because most matches obviously are played off stream, but this does happen. It definitely happens a ton. At Combo Breaker last week, I was just there, right? It happens at every major. There's just so many opportunities for it to happen. It's gonna happen at least once or twice. It's just how it goes. Now, why is this such a big deal? It's because this tournament is not only a qualifier for the Esports World Cup, but because it is a qualifier for the Esports World Cup, there are a ton of really, really big esports orgs that have picked up fighting game players to represent them so that they can have a shot at winning the Esports World Cup. And JDCR is a part of a team called Carmine Corp, which is a very, very big European esports org. Well, I believe they're France-based. Yeah, based on their link. They have a .fr, a link on that. Right, and so they have sponsored JDCR for this tournament. And he's going to be representing them in Esports World Cup. And so suddenly there's a ton of people that were never even remotely interested in fighting games that are just fans of KC as an org that are trying to follow along and trying to be a part of this and trying to root for their player. And because they are not as versed in the fighting game realm, they don't understand why this ruling was made the way that it was, right? They don't understand because they're not familiar with fighting games. They're not familiar with the troubles that come along with running events on console, right? Because that's what this is. And so like it has caused like this culture shock, right? To them, it seems absolutely unreasonable and unfair, and that the staff at Dreamhack has screwed over JDCR and it's a conspiracy. I've literally seen that. I've seen that people saying that it was sabotage. Someone was intentionally out to get JDCR and they stopped the match to save AK from winning. It's not that deep, I promise. It's really not. What it is just unfortunate. This happens way more than you think it does, and it fucking sucks. And unfortunately, we just have to roll with the rulings that we have ahead of time to remove that ambiguity. If you're watching this somehow, if you're watching this and you're a fan of KC and you've been following this weekend because of JDCR, and maybe it's your first time like watching fighting game tournaments, I need you all to relax, okay? That is my message to anyone that may be a part of this, because it has gotten way out of control. There's no world where people should be getting death threats over things like this. The fans are more mad than the players in this situation. Now, JDCR was disappointed, absolutely. He tweeted about it, this and that, but he's a class act. He's been here before. He's experienced things like this before. You don't see him out here threatening to kill Jabali, right? That doesn't happen. That just doesn't happen, right? And so you should not go to those, you should never go that far in general, but especially not whenever the person that got quote unquote screwed over the most is not doing those things, right? He didn't ask for you to do that on his behalf. Just relax. I get it. It sucks. You want your player to win. Just relax. You should not be going at Jabali. You should not be going at AK, right? It just sucks. It just sucks. That's life, though. That's life, and that's fighting game tournaments. And I wish it didn't happen, but it did. What are we supposed to do, right? And so, if you don't believe me, right, Sharon, who is one of the more prolific casters coming out of Spain, very, very important caster to European fighting game scene, came out and said this: a big part of the issue could have been avoided if K-Corp and other influencers had a different tone on their communication and helped to control the fan reactions. Due to ESWC and team signing players, you're exposing fighting games for the first time to thousands of players. This is such a good tweet. This is such a good tweet, and people don't understand that, like, if it's like the perfect storm. It's a perfect storm of unfortunate circumstances that led to this happening, and because, you know, things like that cultural divide are there, it just led to things blowing up way more than they would have under normal circumstances. I feel really sorry for JDCR and AK because, like I said, this situation is something that no one likes to be in, but I think it's important moving forward, especially because there's going to be more qualifiers for Esports World Cup. Yeah, it's a big opportunity, life-changing money, this and that, but these are still human beings that are running our events, right? These are the tournament organizers, are human beings. They sacrifice a lot. They do a lot of hard work to put on these events for you in the first place. Please just treat them like human beings and treat them with respect. And that goes for the players, that goes for the TOs, that goes for the commentators, whoever, right? That's what this is all about. The moment we start just jumping off the rails and threatening to kill people every time something doesn't go our way, we're no different from the bigger communities that we may look down upon for being toxic, right? It's just how it is. Please temper your expectations. This fucking sucks. Hopefully this doesn't happen again anytime soon. It will. Listen, I run a lot of events. It will happen. It's just how it is. It's just how it is. We can't run tournaments on PC to avoid this. I know some people have been saying that too. They've been saying like, oh, this is why you should run tournaments on PCs. There's a myriad of reasons why we can't do that yet. First of all, it's not economically sound. PCs are just more expensive to have a ton of, like, you don't understand how many consoles get run at fighting game tournaments, right? You're talking about replacing every single console in the room with PCs. Very expensive, first of all. Second, there's other issues like driver issues. Are people's controller compatibilities going to work the right way? You have to hire people to like do maintenance on the PCs and make sure that they know how to troubleshoot in case things happen. Consoles are just really simple to deal with at tournaments. Unfortunately, it does open the door for these types of things happening, but we're definitely years out from doing absolutely full PC like big majors on this. Smaller events have tried it before, like I think Defend the North has done it before, but we're a long ways out from like Evo or CEO or like Combo Breaker doing it on that scale, especially because, you know, Sony's one of the biggest sponsors in the FGC right now. So that's what I have to say about that. Please just be reasonable to people and be kind to people. Because at the end of the day, we're here to just play video games and enjoy each other's company. The moment you start, you know, just being so hostile to each other, we've lost sight of why we're in this in the first place. Okay? If you enjoyed this talk, be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, let me know what you think, and we'll see you in the next one. Later, peeps.